Hi, sixth graders, it's Mrs. Reed again. Today we're going to do our final Latin America review, and then we'll have a couple lessons to kind of wind up the year and get you ready to move on to seventh grade. We have this week and next week yet of school. Happy Tuesday, May 26th, sixth graders. I hope you enjoyed a nice holiday weekend, a good Memorial Day, remembering those that lost their lives so that we could have the freedoms that we have today in our country. Today we will review Latin America, and on Thursday begin preparing you a little bit for seventh grade with some new geography, learning new places that you'll study next year for Eastern Hemisphere. I hope you are getting excited for summer. I hope you are staying safe and healthy, and have a wonderful day. This is a picture from Global School Play Day. I like to look back at those memories and see all of your faces when I can. I have the slides in present mode. So I'm going to read the questions and just ask you to kind of answer them to yourself, see if you remember the answer. Go through them a few times. I'll go through them once in the video. You can replay this, or you can just use the slides to kind of quiz yourself. We're going to do some activities, and then there will be a quizzes is going to be your assignment today. That'll be our final review, and that it will send me your responses. The region of blank is made up of Mexico, Central America, and South America. So the region that we have been studying is Latin America. So these are going to be our essentials that we want you to take away from the unit. Latin America is located blank of the United States. It is all south of the United States. Blank is the driest desert in the world and is located in northern Chile. When we were first learning our 5 fabulous physical features of South America and you were labeling maps at the very beginning of quarantine, it might be hard to remember, but that was the Atacama Desert. They receive the least amount of rain, I think, as anywhere in the world, or precipitation. The grasslands and breadbasket region in southeastern South America is called the Pampas. This was another region that you labeled when we did maps at the very beginning of Latin America. So this is a good review just to think about them again. There's a lot of ranches in the Pampas, and you can see a picture. It's flat lands, grasslands that they can use for grazing for animals, and this would be where a lot of their farms would happen, agriculture. The Blank River in South America is the second largest river in the world, and it has thousands of tributaries that flow into it. It is, of course, the Amazon River. The cutting down of the Brazilian rainforest for farmland is called deforestation, and cutting it down for any reason, like the illegal logging that we talked about. And remember the lesson about Brazil last week, the most important, the reason we really need to protect the rainforest is there are thousands of plants per square mile in the rainforest, and they take in the carbon dioxide, and when they're making their food in photosynthesis, that's the process that plants make food. They take in the carbon dioxide, which is how when we burn fossil fuels, we release a lot. And when we exhale, we let out carbon dioxide. And the trees, when they take it in through photosynthesis, they release oxygen. So they make their own food and they release oxygen. So it's the perfect balance between nature. But the Amazon rainforest is often thought of as the lungs of the world for our climate, to protect and keep our climate from getting too hot or too cold. And so we need to really protect that Amazon rainforest and help Brazil, because it helps the entire planet. What is the most important reason to save the Brazilian rainforest? So we just kind of went through that process between people and plants. We let out carbon dioxide. Plants take in carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. So they remove that carbon dioxide from the air and they give us really necessary oxygen that saves our lives. How did the Inca modify those really steep Andes mountain environment in order to those Andes mountains to grow more food? And the picture is a hint. They built terraces, which were like those gigantic steps, and they would farm the flat part of the step, and they still do today. All through the Andes mountains, there are thousands of acres of these terraces that they still farm today. They grow potatoes, was one of the crops that were there, and the quinoa. The line of demarcation was part of the Treaty of Tordesillas, divided land in South America between Spain and Portugal, which is why Brazil still speaks Portuguese today. And you just read the independence story, kind of how, a few weeks ago you read it, how the son of the King of Portugal, when the king went back after things were safe, they had escaped Europe during Napoleon when he was trying to take over everything. And they went back, they left the son in charge of the colony, and he didn't want to fight a war or to be attacked, so he just told the people of Portugal, or people of Brazil, You can have your independence, and he went back to Portugal to face his father. So Brazil is the only colony or the only country in South America that speaks Portuguese. Bolivar had the idea for South America to be united as one country. Imagine how history would be different if South America was a big united country. That's really the United States of America. Could have divided into lots of small countries, and united we were much stronger. So South America may have had a much stronger history. Instead of the countries competing with each other, they would have been united as one. But nobody listened. They all told Bolivar no. And geography was a big part of it, with the Andes Mountains making it really hard to travel between, because they split up the country almost down the west coast. Geography made it really hard for them, and the rainforest made it really remote. So the countries couldn't necessarily work together. The blank was built so ships could get between the Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean without going around the tip of South America, and that would be the Panama Canal. The Spanish influenced the people of Latin America by converting them to the Catholic religion. That was the primary religion in Europe at the time of colonies. And so the French were Catholic also. They brought that to Quebec. And they would try to convert many of the natives as they captured them, just so that they believed that was the one true religion to live by. A human injustice in the Spanish colonies was that most Native Americans were forced to be slaves. We know that when they came, they wanted the gold, so they forced the natives to work in the mines. They brought diseases, and a lot of the natives died, and that's when they turned to Africa to bring African American slaves here to replace the natives that passed away. Cities in Latin America are experiencing urban sprawl and becoming overpopulated because people are migrating to the cities for better jobs, better schools, better homes, lots of reasons, but jobs are what gives them the opportunity to send their kids to better schools, to build better homes, and to have a better life. In the rural areas, there's not a lot of opportunity other than farming for jobs or working somebody else's land. Chile is a long, narrow country in South America because of the Andes Mountains, one of the longest mountain ranges in the world. And so that's why Argentina has a lot more land at that southern tip where it gets narrow, but it was because of the mountains where they split that country, those two countries. The Aztecs were conquered by the Spanish conquistador called Cortez. The cutting down of the Brazilian rainforest for farmland is called deforestation. And the Caribbean islands are really the tops of underwater mountains. So really they're underneath underwater mountains. Blank is an island nation in the Caribbean that has a command economy and dictatorship government, and that would be Cuba. Blank is an island in the Caribbean that is a U.S. Commonwealth. It might have become a state, or it still might. It might become completely independent. Right now it's a territory or Commonwealth of the U.S., and that would be Puerto Rico that we learned about. Because we live in the Great Lakes region, we take for granted having clean water. In lots of places, a natural resource that is scarce in some Latin American countries due to poor living conditions. They have lots and lots of water. You would think with the Amazon rainforest, we know it floods and they have rain all the time in the rainforest, and in other parts of South America because they're near the equator, they get lots of rain. But it's having the infrastructure, the money for the pipes and the wells and the water treatment places that when they use the water, they can clean it. And so that's what they struggle with, especially with urbanization when they're moving to the cities so quickly. Venezuela's economy improved with the discovery of oil. They just have to be careful not to be too dependent on it. Right now, they're in a very huge humanitarian and economic crisis because oil prices have dropped worldwide, as well as everybody's suffering from the pandemic. They were having a crisis 2 or 3 years before, and the pandemic is just going to make things even worse for them. The largest import from Mexico to the U.S. is actually their culture. We get a lot of celebrations, foods, and because we have a lot of people who move because they're a neighbor, just like Canada. So they bring a lot of their culture with them, and it's adopted into a lot of families in America. 3 reasons it's important for U.S. students to know about Latin America. There are many reasons, but their natural resources are really important, like protecting the rainforest and their water, the Amazon River. They are trade partners, so using the Panama Canal, trading for products like bananas and coffee. A lot of our fruits and vegetables, especially in the winter months, come from countries in South America on the other side of the equator when they have longer growing regions. And many move to the U.S. and live with us. So we have many Latin American Americans that live in our country and are citizens. So it's important that we understand that diversity and celebrate how that diversity enriches our lives. So your assignment today is to use StudyStacks. This link is active when you're on the slide, so it's not going to work on the movie. But when you click on the slide, you can use StudyStacks for at least 15 minutes. You can do it longer. Make sure you know the questions. And then there's going to be part of those questions, about half of those questions will be on a quizzes. So you'll just click on this link. It is a quizzes.com. Make sure you log in either with your school email and in somewhere that you put your first and last name so I know who it is so that I can give you a grade. If it doesn't have a first and last name, I can't give you credit for it. So make sure that you're using your real name there so that I can give you credit for that assignment. Have a great day.